Well, I was just saying the other day that it's really weird that Netflix and DC Comics have not dropped Neil Gaiman when pretty much everybody else has at this juncture. Now we've gotten an announcement from Netflix saying that season 2 of The Sandman will be the final season. It was always intended to be this way, as they don't reference Neil Gaiman whatsoever. They're just acting like they're building hype for a show that everybody just wants to watch and see the, quote, conclusion. I think it's an utter lie that's being told by these people, because it's very obvious what's going on right now in the wake of everything else Neil Gaiman getting canceled. We'll get into what's going on. If in case you missed everything, my friends, please hit the like and subscribe button as we talk about all things in the culture here. And I am a science fiction author myself, and I would love for you to check out my Stars Entwined. This is a book that starts my Aritian War trilogy, and it's about a human who embeds himself on an alien starship in the middle of a war to bring back information to humanity, finds himself personally involved in a way he never expected. And it gets really crazy over the 3 books. I really nail the ending, and it pays off very, very well. You'll love this. Get the whole trilogy today. It's available on ebook, print, and audio. I do know it's the beginning of the month. You might have some Audible credits out there. So check that out, guys. It's in the description below. And thank you for supporting our science fiction. All right, so Netflix announced Neil Gaiman's Sandman is canceled, but pretends it was always intended to be a final season. So very weird. They announced it'll be coming to an end with season 2. Now, all of the marketing up until this point said season 2. If you look at just going back a few weeks, whenever you talk about the Sandman, it's season 2, season 2, season 2. Only now has the marketing changed to say the final season. While it's obvious they're quietly ending the show because Neil Gaiman's involvement with their bizarre advertising campaign, it acts like it's always intended to end this way. And I think they're completely lying. Now, Neil Gaiman was faced with a slew of cancellations this week, with Dark Horse Comics announcing they would be removing Anansi Boys from their upcoming publication schedule. Terry Pratchett's estate assured Good Omens graphic novel backers, which made $3 million, that Gaiman would not be getting any funds from the campaign. A stage production of Coraline was canceled in the UK, and his agent even dropped him. Now, we have not covered his agent dropping him on the channel yet. This came from Deadline just a couple days ago. And you can see he was scrubbed from agent Casarato Ramsey's client list after his sexual misconduct allegations. He's been removed from UK agents and their client list after the Good Omens writer faced a string of sexual misconduct allegations. His profile was quietly scrubbed from their website, meaning he no longer appears on pages listing films, TV, theater, and clients. Internet Archive shows Gaiman's profile, which includes trailers for his screen work, was live on the agency's website as recently as last October, months after the initial allegations were public. The author denies wrongdoings. So they failed to respond to repeated requests for comments about whether they continue to rep Gaiman, but they clearly don't want it known on their website. This is very, very funny. We've seen this happen with a lot of woke organizations lately, where they just quietly remove people from their client lists. I'm looking at you, Sweet Baby Inc. in video games. If you went down that rabbit hole, you know what I'm talking about. Now, the woes for Gaiman didn't stop with Netflix when they began their advertising campaign, the adaptation of his infamous work from DC Comics. However, upon inspection upon the marketing images, it's interesting to spot they've relabeled the season as the final season. And so here's their marketing. Here's all their like ridiculous lesbian, transgender, Sandman nonsense. You remember the race swapping. This was something nobody wanted. Look at how ugly it is. Like, there's nobody who wants to watch this anyway. And it gets worse when it's Neil Gaiman. There's where they say the final season on Netflix. Now, when the allegations first dropped, they actually ran a bot campaign on X and other social media platforms just talking about the Sandman over and over and over. Neil Gaiman's seminal work, The Sandman, is filming currently for season 2, is what they said before. And it was over and over and over. They had this bot campaign, and the attempt by Gaiman and his PR management company was to try to scrub the internet and make it something where they were trying to just SEO his name so that people couldn't search the sexual abuse allegations. That all blew up and went crazy, of course, in January, when an interview with his former nanny, Scarlett Pavlovich, for New York Magazine, detailed graphic and horrific details on her claims of sexual abuse against him. Part of the odd situation is how these details have been well known for nearly a year because of the work of Tortoise Podcast and me and Fandom Pulse, detailing the abuse allegations against Gaiman. Moreover, women have been warning about Gaiman for years, with 9 women, it's actually up to 11 now, making allegations about him according to recent reports. As far as The Sandman, the first season came out in August 2022. And gosh, it was universally panned by fans. They couldn't believe the race swapping, the homosexual crap that was all pushed in it. It was a woke nightmare, absolutely. And they did not receive a renewal at that time. Netflix is notorious for commissioning 2 seasons of a show, which is really just 1 season split into 2 if you look at how many episodes they actually produce. And it's seeing how an audience reacts before they go further. It's possible that Netflix never intended to renew The Sandman because of its initial low ratings from the first season. But with scandals, it becomes easy to label it as a final season and wash their hands of the show without having to make any apologies. So their showrunner actually went out and told Variety, this is a weird thing. Now, they didn't talk about Netflix or the ratings or anything like that. And this is Hollywood classic sweeping, trying to pretend like everything's good, like the sky's not falling when everything's collapsing like a house of cards around them. I imagine that nobody's going to really tune into this Sandman season 2 because nobody wants to. But they're going to act like it's just fine. Everything's hunky-dory. It's just normal course of business. And this is what he said. The Sandman series has always been focused on exclusively on Dream's story. And back in 2022, when we looked at the remaining Dream material from the comics, we knew that we only had enough story for 1 more season. Wait a minute, what? Do you know how much Sandman material out there? There's 70 plus issues. There's like side stories. There's everything. This is complete BS, everybody, right here. He's completely lying, in my opinion, when he's talking to Variety and saying that they only had enough story for 1 more season. This was all planned in advance because, as I said, Netflix always commissions 2 seasons. And they don't know if they're going to get picked up at that point. They probably knew that it was going to be a failure because it is a woke nightmare. And this is exactly what went on this front, in my opinion. Very, very weird statement right here that would be given to Variety once they announced this. We're extremely grateful to Netflix for bringing the team all back together and giving us the time and resources to make a faithful adaptation in the way that we hope will surprise and delight comics' loyal readers as well as fans of our show. Wow, what a corporate gobbledygook statement that really says nothing whatsoever. Definitely doesn't talk about Neil Gaiman, doesn't address Neil Gaiman. They want to hide from that all the way around. And you could see in Netflix promotional material that they're posting on social media, they don't mention Neil Gaiman. They don't mention anything. They're just like, hey, we've got a great show coming back, gents. And they are trying to sweep this very, very hard because they're trying to actually recoup their investment, which is, something that's not going to work out this time. There's no good way around this. It's super awkward to look at. It's super awkward to see, and I don't see this going well for the company whatsoever. They're just toast, and they know they have a product that's going to bomb and going to fail, and they're going to just act like it was fine anyway. So it appears as if the marketing campaign is intended to ignore Neil Gaiman's involvement in the controversies and act like the show exists on its own and was always intended to end this way. I think this is complete lies. I think it's fake. I think it's terrible marketing. And there's no, like I said, it's not like there's any good way to market this at this juncture. But Netflix is just throwing this out there. It's dead on arrival, and that's what we're going to see here. Very interesting stuff this week. And of course, if more Neil Gaiman information drops, there's the one big shoe that's yet to drop. DC Comics has said nothing about the Sandman or anything. After the initial allegations came out, DC Comics announced a new reprint of the Sandman 2 months later. So they knew about it and then put out a reprint anyway to go to stores. We'll see what happens with that and see if anything happens going forward or if DC Comics makes any statement. From what I was told from my insiders in the industry, there was a gag order placed on the topic where they're not allowed to talk about it, and that's what's happened all across the media, and that's why we've been calling things out, telling the truth here when the media won't in any of this stuff whatsoever, and I'm glad you're here with us as we do. Please hit the like and subscribe button. What do you think about this? Is Netflix lying? Leave a comment down below, and of course, check out my awesome space opera, guys, The Arroz War. Grab all 3 books. It's available on ebook, print, and audio. Really appreciate you guys for reading, and we'll be back soon.